You know, I can watch machinery run all day long. Very cathartic for me. Otherwise, it's like, it's quite easy with the waking up, understanding the reasons the world has problems every day is hard. Then I get depressed, and the very minute I get depressed, I start thinking about all the people in the world that are less fortunate than me, and how many of them there are, and how fucking lucky I am. That keeps me going, knowing that there is righteous people out there. It almost makes me sick to my stomach when I hear human men say that their God is the God you're supposed to worship. It just makes me sick to my stomach. You see, they have no concept even what they're saying. It's to me, all religions are cults. If you try to explain your iPhone to an amoeba, where would you start? Yeah, see, the problem is it's ludicrous to even contemplate anything of what God thinks or his reasons for doing the way the things he does are done the way he wants. Or, as my near-death experience stated, it's all on us. Every bit of it's our decisions, our choices, our responsibility. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Black and white. You're responsible for what you do that helps and aids others, and you're responsible for what you do that does not aid others. And the more ability you have to aid others and you do not do that, the more weight you have on your soul. That's just how it is. Human beings in another 10, maybe in 10 million years, 20 million years, we'll be mature enough as a species, if we make it, to contemplate what God might be. To try to explain your iPhone to an amoeba is a joke. That's a billion years of evolution. More. Now that the web is looking back and seeing galaxies forming way earlier than we thought they were. Way earlier. That means, within a billion years, there were probably enough there were probably enough exploded suns, if there was enough, of the materials we need to make life. And then the natural hydrogen bonds that form, that variety of hydrogen bonds just happen to make machines that replicate DNA, and all the proteins and amino acids just tend to be. And if you don't think that wasn't on purpose, okay, the universe is full of life. And we're like, well, where are they? With our arrogance, you know what I mean? Where are they? People take videos and pictures of them every day. They have a reason why they don't want to get involved with us, because we're not trustworthy. For men to create a God is for a man to control another man. That is what human religion is. It's men controlling other men. People controlling people. And each flavor has its own little way of saying it's our way or the highway. They try to be righteous and say it's not that way, but that's the way it's written, okay? In your inspired book. God inspired your book. Well, he said he inspired that book and that and that and that and that and that, very convenient for other men. I feel embarrassed for the human race when they come up with some religion. I just feel embarrassed, okay? Almost all religions that I experienced in my whole life, because I really did, and anyone who's been on my channel for the last 15 years understands the journey I went through with religion. Every religion. Trying to find. Actually, I wasn't looking for affirmation. I was looking for exactly what I found when I was a very young child, when I first had this thing where I made my mother take me to every church there was, every denomination, you name it, because I was psychologically fucked up. I was left with this overwhelming sensation of course, there was this giant answer. A giant answer to the biggest fucking riddle of all was basically just hanging on me. And see, here it's like, oh, you have to go to a church if you want to experience God. And I would open the door and I'm like, no, this is the exact opposite of what I experienced. This is not what I experienced. This is the opposite of this is the opposite of what I was feeling. And then she finally had to tell me, Laren, what you're looking for doesn't exist here on this earth. So I think she finally started believing my near-death experience more and more, because I would say things that she says I couldn't possibly know. And the fact that I can remember discovering my hands, that they were attached to me, that moment when I realized those were my hands, so that's just the slices I saw of my life. They showed me from picking my mom until I died, and then from when I went back until this. Now it's unknown. It's unknown to me. There was one end, but I passed that. I passed the test, so to speak. And I stopped myself from this vicious circle. And I volunteered to do a job, which is tell you, number one, don't fear death. Number two, humans cannot come up with a God. Okay, that is just and honest, because it's us. Try to explain your iPhone to an amoeba, and that's just 1 billion years. Okay, the universe is, well, now I guess we're going to find out to a higher degree of accuracy, but let's just say 13 billion years old. And there could have easily been life for 10 billion of those years. What does the species do when it's 1 billion years more advanced than a human being? How far can nature take an intelligence? How well can humans, at some point, humans are going to design their own bodies. That's all there is to it. They will design their own body. They will decide when they have reached their end of life. Because there's no sense living. Without death, there's no sense living. There's a reason why we come here. And it's to solidify these choices that we made. It makes God's reality real to us. Every one of us is on our own little piece of time space. Everything about quantum mechanics says I'm not in the same time as you. Regardless of how small that point is, me and you have never moved in the same direction, at the same speed, at the same trajectory, at the same altitude, ever in our lives, ever. We have our own little piece of reality here that we live with, and God provides that for us. That's what makes it so wondrous, that He provides this and gives us an opportunity to become more when we die, that we're now a quantum being, an intelligence that holds together, that remains itself. And they told me, you were Laren before, you will be Laren now, and you will be Laren later. And then I asked them why we had to do this. I asked them why we had to live this. Because at the time, I was in the hands of a stepfather that was a real dick. and life wasn't pleasant, and I'm like, what, you know what's going on? Why do we have to do this? And they told me the answer. And I got the answer not from just from them, but from trillions of beings. All gave me the answer at once in their own language, in their own culture, in their own, beings incredibly more advanced and beings not as advanced as me. And all the answer was from everybody. And it was so overwhelming that for the first 5 years after I came back from my near-death experience, I was just overwhelmed by this sensation of course that's why. And I begged them, could I remember that? And they said, no, it's not allowed. That was the only thing where they even used a term like that. They never, that was the only kind of, I wouldn't even call it disciplinarian or even saying no. You know what I mean? That was the only thing that I was not allowed to understand here. Probably because it's beyond me now. And the answer would just be silliness and not make any sense. And, I wouldn't be able to comprehend it anyway. Too big, too deep. But the emotional sensation never left me for 5 years. Went to every church, found out they were all bullshit. Gave it up, went back, went through another whole routine of religious fervor. And then, nope, still the same old man doing man. And got out of that. And then right in the middle of that, when I had finally been so disgusted by the hypocrisies and the lies and the cheating and the bigotry and just the ugliness of men, exactly like I experienced when I was a child. I discovered quantum mechanics held pretty much every answer to what happened to me. I spent a lifetime trying to disavow my fucking experience because it bothered me so much. It interfered with my thinking every day. I mean, it really was traumatic, which is for me is like when adults are like, oh, it made me so happy and now I don't fear death anymore. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I felt tricked. When they showed me what it was going to be like when I came back, I was like, yeah, well, I changed my mind. I don't want to do that. And they said, oh, but that's what you chose. And the guy who had spent over 6 minutes trying to resuscitate me, that's after he went out and found me, which was a fucking miracle in itself. Never gave up. Everyone said, my mom told me that, oh yeah, everyone had given up and that was it, And the guy wouldn't give up. He had all the skills necessary, the athletic ability, the swimming ability, the ability to know how to get the water out of me and then how to do proper resuscitation. It's just a fucking miracle. Religion has nothing to do with God. God is so much pure and of love and understanding. There's no hell. There is no hell. There is no hell other than what we create for ourselves when we go back, because when you have all knowledge, when you're no longer a fucking ape barely out of the trees, and you have all knowledge, you will understand the depravity of your evils. And you won't just, the information that is stored in our past, all of it's accessible from every intelligence. And I can tell you that if, Hitler has burned and been gassed and, millions of times. And not just, and I really, really want to make this, I want to bring this point to bear. You don't just, it's not a movie or a book. You don't see their life flash before you. You live it. You were born that person and you live their life. And then only then and only then can you understand what you did. And you may even live the anguish of the parents. Who knows how far you do that? You see, you become a pure being there. You're not afraid of the truth any longer. You're not afraid of looking at the truth any longer. The truth cannot be evaded. but it carries all of the emotional impact. The truth is there and it's perfect, okay? That's why I leave good information. Really. No one's perfect. That's the second thing. No one's perfect. This place is to create sentient intelligence. That's what it is. It's a machine to create sentient intelligence. Another billion years from now, we'll be smart enough to talk to those people that are 10 billion years more advanced than us. Some, I'm sure, may even be able to travel to that place. I don't know. Over my pay grade. But I can tell you that religion, sorry, God is too loving, and there is no hell there. You bring it with you. Quantum mechanics basically showed me that what I thought was impossible wasn't impossible. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, fuck. What? You mean that is possible? Oh, wait. Okay, so now that changes everything that I spent my whole life looking to deny so that I wouldn't think I was fucking crazy. And then quantum mechanics tells me, nope, you're not crazy. Don't be afraid to live. Help others. Be kind to others. When you're down, think about others and how much better off you have it than them. I personally donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital because the money's well spent. Doesn't matter how much money they have. The money's well spent. Try to leave good information. You are your brother's keeper. You are responsible. That's, what can I say? You are. There's no escaping it. People that have caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands. To me, it's terrifying what they've had to go through. And you do that voluntarily. You live that life, you get executed by a bunch of hired thugs that the Germans have hired to shoot people in trenches because the soldiers were turning into alcoholic, useless, post-traumatic stress cases. So they basically hired professional killers to do the work. See, they'll be in that ditch one day. It's our own. It's our own doing. It's our own doing, and there is no second chance. You don't get to come back and do a better job next time. You see, that was the one thing they told me. No, you get your own little piece of time space in this crystal, and this is the time allotted you have, and it's all predestined, but at any point in there, you can change that information for the better or for the worse. You have complete and total free will. But it will be completed to this point. Which is why I do my anti-suicide videos. First off, talk to your friends. Everyone loves you. And, we tend to try to block that out. I was very close. But there were people that loved me. And that was all it took for me. There are lots of resources out there. On a quantum level, you just go back and you repeat. You rinse and repeat an untold. I often ask myself, how many millions of times did I relive my little piece of time space in the reality crystal, so to speak? How many times did I do that cycle before I finally didn't jump? And it was selfish. It was selfishness. That's part of the key. Is because what I did was for me. Being in the nuclear business, I understood that water is a great insulator for radiation. That's how desperate. You're even thinking about that. And a jump from a Carquinez bridge that didn't exist at the time. It's also bizarre. I made a choice because of others. One in one of them, I'm like, well, I know what comes next, but I still was wanted to survive, and there were all these people over here that were desperate. They didn't know what to do. They were lost, and I was like, fuck them. And then there's the other part where I couldn't jump because I had a job to do. I could do that because, I mean, I've been this close to death so many times in my life that when he gets my card, he's like, fuck, not this guy again. Okay, really. I turned and I went to that group of people, and I got up on a car, and I went like this. I said, come here. And they all came over. And I started explaining to them that my near-death experience and what happened. And they instinctually knew that what I was telling them was what they were supposed to hear. And I was on a bridge that didn't exist. And then again, one day I'm driving down there, and there it is. And I understood this bridge here. This is the bridge right here. This is the bridge that I'm supposed to reach those people and say, don't be afraid to live. Leave good information. Okay? Be a person who craves rightness, and you don't mind being responsible for your brother. That it's not a big responsibility. It should be joyful. Religion on this earth is bullshit. God would never create anything so disgusting. That this is all a persistent illusion, okay? And you are simply here to solidify yourself as a sentient, informational being. You consist of everything that you are or have been, every thought, movement, action. It's all there, perfectly maintained. And whatever comes next, you see, now that was the big thing. They didn't say that God came after this near-death experience because it was near-death. But they did say I couldn't have that unless I went back. I had a job to do, and I was going to cycle no matter what until one day I finally got it right. And so here I am. There's only certain people that are going to see my videos and go, oh, okay, that gives me comfort. Because I'm a little bit too smart for religion to pull the fucking wool over my eyes. So now what do I do? Do I think everything just goes black and this is all a waste of fucking time? No, it's not. The universe wants goodness. That's positive. You can have negative energy too. So the universe wants good energy. That's what it's designed and craves to do. But going from an animal to an advanced being that no longer craves violence and commits war against one another almost as a fucking hobby, there's a barrier that we need to get by, and I always worry we won't make that barrier. Just try to be good. Try to leave good information. Just help others when you can. That you don't have to take the responsibility of the whole world on your shoulders. It doesn't belong there. Okay? If you had $100 billion or $44 billion to fucking blow, you'd be able to go out and do some real problem solving. We're not talking about funding foundations with hidden funds over here making interest that they then spend. We're talking about taking the chunk of fucking profit, money itself, its value, and spending that helping people. See, if everyone was to do that, the world would be a different place. So that just proves my point. We're not ready. So, everyone's important. Everyone is important. Every single last one of us is important. God is more than fair. That's the other point. There's no hell. Okay? There's just what you take with you, the information that you take back with you. that is you. That is you. And for only there can, when you get rid of this physical shell, can you move on and become wiser, smarter. You go join the rest of those sentient beings around God, and you can live any life you want to at that point. Okay, so done with my I have to do this every now and again rant, because it's hard sometimes. It's very personal when I talk about this kind of stuff. It's very personal. I'd want to. It's so hard to explain that my saving grace is that people have heard this for many, 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 many years from me. They all know the story well. It's always the same because it's part of me. But I can't let you know how I feel emotionally about it, because much stronger emotional content. And I'm kind of angry that I wasn't one of those lucky adults. You know what I mean? But I did come back, and I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and I find great happiness in that. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, where and how. It's just all the other stuff that came in between. You know what I mean? Uh, Not so good. All right. So Merry Christmas to everybody.